Construction of pattern for an ordinary petticoat. In the previous session, we identified the required body measurements and made few calculations for constructing the pattern of an ordinary petticoat. In this session, we will see how to construct the pattern of an ordinary petticoat based on the drafting instructions. At the end of the session, you will be able to estimate the fabric required for making the ordinary petticoat, construct the pattern of an ordinary petticoat. As per the measurement chart, the full length of the ordinary petticoat is 26 inches, front length is 11.5 inches, and the chest circumference is 24 inches. With these measurements, let's calculate the length of the fabric required for making the ordinary petticoat. In the previous session, we calculated the total front length as 12.25 inch and the total skirt length as 17 inches with all the seam allowances added. So, the fabric required would be 1 time the total front length plus 2 times the skirt length considering the fabric width as 35 inches. That is 12.25 plus 17 is equal to 46.25 inches. We will round this to 50 inches, which is 1.5 meter. Thus, the total fabric required would be 50 inches or 1.5 meter of fabric. Before we go about constructing the pattern for an ordinary petticoat, let's first take a look at how our pattern would actually look like. This will be the pattern for our bodice part when folded, and this will be the pattern of the skirt part without folding. We will construct the pattern for bodice and skirt piece separately. The body measurements for making the ordinary petticoat are full length, which is 26 inches, front length, which is 11.5 inches, and chest circumference, which is 24 inches. In the previous session, we calculated the total front length as 12.25 inch, quarter of the chest circumference including all the seam allowances as 7.5 inches. We will need these measurements while constructing the bodice of the ordinary petticoat. Now, let's see how to construct the pattern of an ordinary petticoat based on the drafting instructions. First, let's see how to draft the front and the back bodies. Draw a baseline 01 which represents the total front length, which is the front length of 11.5 inches plus quarter inch for the seam allowance plus half inch of waist seam allowance, which is equal to 12.25 inch. This line represents the fold while drafting on the fabric. From point 0, draw a line right angle to the baseline. This will be the shoulder line while drafting on the fabric. From point 1, draw a right angle line to the baseline. This is the waistline. Again, starting from point 0, measure along the shoulder line, quarter of the chest including half inch side seam allowance and 1 inch wearing ease, which becomes 7.5 inches, and make a mark. This is point 2. From point 2, draw a right angle line to the shoulder line, which is also parallel to the baseline. The point where this line meets the waistline is point 10. Mark the midpoint of the line 02. This is point 3. Measure 1 inch to the left of point 3 and make a mark. This is point 4. Again, measure 1 inch to the right of point 3 and make a mark. This is point 5. From point 4, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. And from point 5, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. From point 5, measure quarter inch down and make a mark. This is point 6. Connect point 4 and point 6 in a straight line. This will be the shoulder slope. Starting from point 2, measure 1/6 of the chest plus half inch, which is equal to 4.5 inches, and make a mark. This is point 7. From point 7, Draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn down from point 5. From point 0, measure along the baseline 1/6 of the chest, which is 4 inches, and make a mark. This is point 8. From point 8, measure 1 inch upward. This is point 9. From point 8, draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn down from point 4. From point 9, draw a right angle line for about 1 inch into the bodice. This will be the reference line for shaping the armhole curve. Starting from point 9, in a right angle, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line at point 4. This is the back neck opening. Again, starting from point 8, in a right angle, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line at point 4. This is the front neck opening. Next, starting from point 7, we will shape the front armhole. Start drawing along the straight line, then curve into the bodice and join the straight line at point 6. This is the front armhole. Now we will shape the back armhole. Again, start drawing from point 7 along the straight line and continue to shape the curve, joining the straight line at point 6. This is the back armhole. From point 10, measure ½ inch to the left and make a mark. This is point 11. Connect point 7 and 11 in a straight line. Then from point 11, measure ½ inch upward and make a mark. This is point 12. Starting with a straight line from point 1 and about midway, shape in a soft curve to point 12. Thus we have constructed the pattern of the bodice for an ordinary petticoat. Now let's see how to draft the pattern for the skirt piece of an ordinary petticoat. Extend the baseline and make a mark about 2 inches below point 1. This will be point 13. Here the baseline will be the cutting line and not a fold. From point 13, draw a right angle line to the baseline. This is the waistline of the skirt part. From point 13, measure the skirt width of 30 inches along the waistline and make a mark. This is point 14. Again from point 13, measure the skirt length of 17 inches along the baseline and make a mark. This is point 15. From point 15, measure 2 inches above and make a mark. This is point 16. From point 15, draw 30 inches line perpendicular to the baseline. The point where the line ends is point 17. From point 16, draw a 30-inch line perpendicular to the baseline. The point where the line ends is point 18. Now connect points 14 and 17 in a straight line. Lines 13-14, 16-18 and 15-17 have same length and they are parallel. Lines 13-15 and 14-17 have the same length and they are parallel. Thus, we have finished the construction of skirt piece of an ordinary petticoat. The skirt part will have to be cut in double layer of fabric. We will indicate this on the pattern by writing 2x on it. Thus, we have constructed the pattern for an ordinary petticoat. In this session, we have learned how to construct the pattern for an ordinary petticoat. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in constructing the pattern for an ordinary petticoat. Step 1. Draw the baseline fold and mark the front length. Step 2. Construct the shoulder line and the waistline. Step 3. Construct the shoulder slope, back neck opening, front neck opening, front armhole and back armhole. Step 4. Construct a 30 by 17 inch rectangle for skirt piece by adding 2 inch length for the bottom hem. With that, we have come to the end of the session.